The world is a maze of choices, a labyrinth of whispers and echoes. Every path you consider is a door to a different version of yourself, a future born from a single moment of decision. But what happens when the noise of the world becomes deafening? What happens when you're standing at a crossroads, your inner compass shattered, shrouded in a fog of doubt? You can feel the weight of every potential wrong turn, the paralyzing fear of a future you can't see. This isn't a video about history, it's a journey into your own heart. For centuries, one name has been whispered, a name that holds the key to the human psyche, the architect of our subconscious, Ibn Sirin. His legacy is not just about interpreting dreams, it's about understanding the language of your soul. It's about learning to trust the subtle signals your intuition sends when all the external signs are confusing. This is a masterclass in an art we have long forgotten. You will discover how to decode the whispers of your subconscious and unearth the profound truths that have been waiting for you all along. It's a powerful, timeless secret for a deeply modern dilemma. This isn't just about making one wise choice, it's about rebuilding your entire foundation so you can navigate any uncertainty with clarity and purpose. Ibn Sirin possessed a unique combination of deep religious scholarship and commercial acumen. As a devoted student of the renowned companions Abdullah bin Abbas and Abdullah bin Omar, he had absorbed not just the theoretical aspects of Islamic jurisprudence, but understood how these principles should govern every aspect of daily life, including the most mundane commercial transactions. When Ibn Sirin established his shop in the Iraqi marketplace, something extraordinary occurred. The marketplace itself began to transform into what could only be described as a religious assembly with commercial overtones. All the merchants, recognizing his vast knowledge and unwavering ethical standards, deliberately positioned their shops near his, knowing that his presence guaranteed the legitimacy of their business district. The phenomenon that emerged was unprecedented in commercial history. Visiting traders from regions far beyond Iraq would arrive at this particular market with one primary objective: to present their goods to Ibn Sirin first. The local merchants understood this ritual perfectly. They would wait, watching carefully for Ibn Sirin's decision. If he examined merchandise and chose to purchase it, the entire market would follow suit without hesitation. This wasn't merely about following trends or market sentiment. The merchants recognized that Ibn Sirin's approval served as a religious certification, a guarantee that the goods met the highest standards of Islamic law. Even when Ibn Sirin would purchase items and then resell them at higher prices to other merchants, taking what would normally be considered an unfair profit, the market participants willingly accepted these transactions, understanding that they were paying not just for goods, but for the assurance of religious compliance. One day, as the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the marketplace, a merchant arrived carrying what represented a fortune in trade goods. He had traveled from distant non-Muslim territories, bringing with him enormous quantities of cheese, dozens of wheels from numerous sheep, packed in massive sacks that required multiple men to carry. The cheese represented more than just potential profit. It was a staple food source in the Arabian Peninsula, where people primarily sustained themselves on bread and cheese. The financial implications were staggering. The merchant's proposed deal would generate approximately 40,000 dirhams in profit, equivalent to hundreds of millions in modern currency terms. This was not merely a business transaction, it was the kind of deal that could secure a merchant's prosperity for years. As was customary, the visiting merchant approached Ibn Sirin first. The entire marketplace held its collective breath. Local traders gathered at a respectful distance, understanding that Ibn Sirin's decision would determine not just his involvement, but the fate of this massive commercial opportunity for everyone present. The merchant explained his proposition with the confidence of someone who had traveled great distances and understood the value of what he offered. The cheese was of excellent quality, the price was fair, and the profit margins were substantial. Everything about the deal appeared perfect from a commercial standpoint. But Ibn Sirin's first question cut through all commercial considerations with surgical precision. Is this cheese halal? The merchant, perhaps expecting routine negotiations about price and quantity, seemed momentarily taken aback. He explained that the cheese was dried milk with added salt. What could be problematic about such a basic food preparation? Ibn Sirin's response revealed the depth of his religious understanding and the rigorous standards by which he conducted his life. He explained that cheese from non-Muslim regions could potentially be contaminated with fat from prohibited animals, pigs, dogs, or other sources forbidden in Islamic law. The mixing of such substances would render the entire product haram, regardless of the primary ingredients. Then Ibn Sirin presented what amounted to an ultimatum that would test the merchant's integrity. If you as a Muslim are willing to swear by Allah's name to guarantee that this cheese is completely halal, I will accept your word. However, understand that this oath will be your responsibility before Allah on the Day of Judgment. If you can make this guarantee, I will purchase the entire quantity. The weight of this request became immediately apparent. This wasn't simply a business assurance or a casual promise. It was a religious oath that would carry consequences in the afterlife. The merchant, faced with the eternal implications of his potential guarantee, found himself unable to make such a sworn declaration. Ibn Sirin's response was immediate and uncompromising. In that case, by Allah's name, I will not purchase this merchandise. The merchant, finding himself rejected by the market's religious authority, attempted to salvage his situation by approaching other traders in the marketplace. He discovered that not all merchants maintained Ibn Sirin's rigid standards. Some, apparently lacking in complete religious conviction, were willing to purchase the questionable cheese despite the uncertainty about its halal status. The following morning brought an incident that would illustrate the remarkable consistency of Ibn Sirin's principles, regardless of the monetary amounts involved. A customer entered his shop and selected merchandise worth 2 dirhams, a trivial sum by any measure, especially compared to the 40,000 dirhams he had rejected the previous day. As the customer engaged in casual conversation with Ibn Sirin, discussing various religious and legal matters, he became so absorbed in the discussion that he began to leave the shop without paying for his purchase. Ibn Sirin immediately called out, asking him to settle the 2 dirham payment. The customer's response created an extraordinary situation. He insisted that he had already paid, and when Ibn Sirin maintained that no payment had been received, both men found themselves in a position where each felt compelled to swear by Allah's name regarding their version of events. This created what Islamic jurisprudence recognizes as one of the most serious situations possible: 2 Muslims making conflicting oaths in Allah's name over the same matter. The gravity of the situation drew the attention of other merchants who gathered to witness this unusual dispute. The marketplace observers were genuinely puzzled by what they witnessed. Ibn Sirin, the man who had rejected 40,000 dirhams due to religious uncertainty, was now engaged in a sworn dispute over 2 dirhams. The apparent inconsistency seemed incomprehensible. Eventually, the customer, feeling embarrassed by the public attention and the seriousness of the situation, paid the 2 dirhams to resolve the matter. After the crowd had dispersed, the remaining merchants approached Ibn Sirin seeking clarification. They expressed their confusion. How could he reject hundreds of millions in profit due to uncertainty, yet engage in a sworn dispute over such a tiny sum? Ibn Sirin's explanation revealed the profound theological consistency underlying both actions. He explained that his willingness to swear about the 2 dirhams was based on certain knowledge. He definitively knew that the payment had not been made. Allowing the customer to leave without payment would mean permitting him to consume something obtained through improper means, making both parties accountable before Allah. The 40,000 dirham cheese transaction had involved uncertainty, a gray area where he could not be certain of the product's halal status. The 2 dirham situation involved certainty. He knew exactly what had occurred and what was required to maintain proper ethical standards. Several days later, Ibn Sirin faced another test of his principles, this time involving a honey merchant who arrived with approximately 250 kilograms of honey, a massive quantity packed in containers that required multiple men to transport. The honey merchant's timing coincided with a period when Ibn Sirin had recently invested heavily in inventory for his shop, leaving him temporarily short of liquid capital. When the merchant offered his honey for sale, Ibn Sirin explained his current financial situation. He was interested in the purchase but lacked immediate cash. The honey merchant, recognizing Ibn Sirin's reputation and trustworthiness, agreed to leave the honey with a promise of future payment. This arrangement demonstrated the extraordinary level of trust that Ibn Sirin commanded in the business community. Merchants were willing to extend credit based solely on his word. That evening, as Ibn Sirin prepared to close his shop, he inadvertently left one of the honey containers improperly sealed. This seemingly minor oversight would lead to consequences that tested his principles in ways he could never have anticipated. The following morning, when Ibn Sirin opened his shop, he discovered a troubling scene. Several small rats had found their way into the open honey container during the night. Unable to escape from the thick, sticky substance, they had perished, their bodies now floating on the surface of the honey. For any ordinary merchant, this situation might have presented a simple problem with an obvious solution. Remove the dead animals, discard a small amount of potentially contaminated honey from the immediate vicinity, and sell the remainder. The financial loss would be minimal, and customers would never know about the incident. But Ibn Sirin viewed the situation through an entirely different lens. He immediately instructed his employees to take the entire quantity of honey, all 250 kilograms, and dispose of it in the nearby river. The specific instruction to throw the honey in the river, rather than simply discarding it in waste areas, demonstrated Ibn Sirin's concern that even after disposal, the honey might be retrieved and used by others unaware of its contamination. By disposing of it in the river, he ensured that no Muslim could inadvertently consume the compromised product. Word of this dramatic waste quickly spread throughout the marketplace. Other merchants and community members, witnessing the disposal of such valuable merchandise, were astounded. They approached Ibn Sirin seeking explanation for what appeared to be an incomprehensible financial decision. When Ibn Sirin explained that he had discovered dead rats in the honey, the onlookers offered what seemed like reasonable alternatives. They suggested that he could simply remove the dead animals, discard a small portion of honey from the immediate area of contamination, and sell the remainder. Ibn Sirin's response revealed the depth of his religious consciousness and his understanding of accountability before Allah. He posed a question that cut to the heart of the matter. Can anyone guarantee to me which drops of honey were affected by the bacteria from the decomposing animals and which drops were not? He continued, if I follow your suggestion to remove only a small portion, how can I know with certainty that the remaining honey is completely free from contamination? If I sell honey to Muslims that contains even traces of bacterial contamination from the dead animals, I will be held accountable by Allah on the Day of Judgment for knowingly selling compromised food to my fellow believers. This reasoning demonstrated a level of religious scrupulousness that went far beyond legal minimums or socially acceptable standards. Ibn Sirin was applying the principle that when doubt exists about the purity of food, The only acceptable course is complete avoidance. The financial implications of Ibn Sirin's decision were severe. The honey represented a significant debt that he now owed without having any product to sell in compensation. 3 weeks passed, and despite his diligent efforts to generate income from his other business activities, he had only managed to accumulate half the money needed to pay the honey merchant. When the honey merchant returned to collect payment, Ibn Sirin honestly explained what had occurred. He described the contamination incident, his decision to dispose of the entire quantity, and his current financial situation. He offered the honey merchant several options: accept the partial payment currently available, accept equivalent value in merchandise from his shop, or wait for additional time to allow the remaining balance to be accumulated. The honey merchant's response revealed the different standards by which various people operated. Rather than appreciating Ibn Sirin's honesty or accepting any of the proposed alternatives, he demanded immediate full payment in cash and threatened legal action if his demands were not met. True to his word, the honey merchant brought the matter before the local judge. Islamic commercial law of that era provided clear guidance for such situations. If a debtor could not meet payment obligations, they could be imprisoned until the debt was satisfied. The judge, who was familiar with Ibn Sirin's reputation as a scholar and his character, listened to both sides of the dispute. Ibn Sirin explained the circumstances that led to his disposal of the honey and his current financial situation. The honey merchant reiterated his demand for immediate cash payment. When the judge asked the honey merchant if he would accept goods in lieu of cash, the merchant remained adamant in his refusal. Under the law, the judge had no alternative but to order Ibn Sirin's imprisonment until he could arrange full payment. Ibn Sirin's response to this judgment demonstrated the consistency of his character, even under duress. Rather than expressing anger, making excuses, or attempting to negotiate special treatment, he simply accepted the judge's decision with the words, "Then imprison me. I deserve imprisonment." The prison administrator, recognizing Ibn Sirin's status as a respected religious scholar, offered what seemed like a reasonable accommodation. He suggested that Ibn Sirin could return home each evening to be with his family and return to the prison each morning, a common arrangement for respected individuals in similar circumstances. Ibn Sirin's refusal of this accommodation revealed another dimension of his integrity. He explained to the prison administrator that he would not participate in undermining governmental authority or legal procedures, even when such violations might benefit him personally. He insisted on serving his sentence in full compliance with the law, regardless of any special treatment that might be offered due to his status. Ibn Sirin's unwavering commitment to principle, even at great personal cost, ultimately led to an outcome that neither he nor anyone else could have predicted. Word of his imprisonment spread throughout the Muslim community in Iraq and beyond. The story of a respected scholar imprisoned due to his refusal to sell contaminated food to fellow Muslims resonated deeply with believers across the region. Spontaneous collections began in mosques, markets, and private homes. Muslims who had been touched by Ibn Sirin's example of integrity contributed whatever they could afford to secure his release. The response was overwhelming. The collected funds not only covered the debt for the original honey purchase, but exceeded the required amount by such a margin that Ibn Sirin could have purchased 10 additional quantities of similar honey. This resolution was viewed by Ibn Sirin and the community as divine intervention, Allah's reward for unwavering commitment to religious principles, even at great personal sacrifice. The Quranic verse, "With every hardship comes ease," took on tangible meaning in this situation. The incident established a principle that would be remembered for generations: that absolute commitment to religious truth, regardless of immediate consequences, ultimately leads to outcomes that exceed what compromise might have achieved. In another demonstration of Ibn Sirin's wisdom, an incident occurred that revealed his understanding of the spiritual dangers inherent in criticizing others, even when such criticism might seem justified. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf was a historical figure whose reputation in Islamic history remains controversial. As a military commander and political leader during the Umayyad Caliphate, he was known for his harsh methods and cruel treatment of opponents. His actions included the execution of respected companions of the Prophet and scholars who opposed his policies. One day, Ibn Sirin overheard a young man engaged in bitter denunciation of Al-Hajjaj, listing his crimes and expressing harsh judgments about his character and destiny. Such conversations were common among the people, who saw Al-Hajjaj's actions as deserving of public condemnation. Ibn Sirin's intervention in this situation revealed profound spiritual wisdom. Rather than joining the criticism or remaining silent, he addressed the young man directly. "Be quiet, my brother." He then explained his reasoning with words that would be preserved and quoted for centuries. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, about whom you speak, has proceeded to his Lord. He has faced death and judgment. You too are proceeding toward your Lord and will face the same judgment. Both of you will meet Allah on the Day of Judgment. Ibn Sirin continued with an observation that struck at the heart of spiritual accountability. When you stand for judgment and your deeds are weighed, while Al-Hajjaj awaits his own judgment, you will discover that the smallest sin you committed may weigh heavier against you than the greatest sin Al-Hajjaj committed. This statement encapsulated a fundamental principle of Islamic spirituality, that each person's judgment is individual and that one cannot assume their own sins are less significant than the apparent sins of others. The spiritual danger lies not in the comparison of sins, but in the assumption that criticizing others somehow diminishes one's own accountability. Ibn Sirin explained further, Allah will certainly exact justice from Al-Hajjaj. For those he wronged, the rights of his victims will be taken from him and given to them as compensation. But Allah will also give to Al-Hajjaj the rights of those who wronged him through their criticisms and slander. When you speak against him, you transfer your own spiritual rewards to him. The wisdom concluded with practical advice that applied beyond this specific situation. From this day forward, do not burden yourself with insulting others. There are people who spend their days focusing only on others' faults, while they themselves have many shortcomings. They busy themselves with other people's families, spouses, children, employees, clothing, constantly seeking flaws in others. What benefit does this bring them? None whatsoever. These stories of Ibn Sirin illustrate principles that transcended his time and continue to offer guidance for contemporary believers. His approach to business ethics, personal responsibility, and spiritual accountability created standards that influenced Islamic commercial law and personal conduct for centuries. The incident with the arrow provides another example of Ibn Sirin's consciousness about even minor potential wrongs. Imam Bukhari, another renowned Islamic scholar, was preparing to go hunting with friends when he practiced archery in front of his home. One arrow accidentally struck his neighbor's fence, causing minor damage. Rather than dismissing this as an inconsequential accident, Imam Bukhari immediately sent his servant to inform his neighbor about the damage and offer compensation, regardless of the amount requested. The neighbor, recognizing Imam Bukhari's status as a great scholar, insisted that no compensation was necessary and even offered to give his house to Imam Bukhari as a gesture of respect. When Imam Bukhari learned of his neighbor's gracious response, he gave charity to the poor in gratitude to Allah for sparing him from having an enemy on the Day of Judgment over such a minor incident. This level of consciousness about interpersonal rights and responsibilities reflects the same principles that guided Ibn Sirin throughout his life. The understanding that Every action, regardless of how small, carries potential consequences in both this world and the next. The legacy of Ibn Sirin extends beyond historical interest to offer practical guidance for contemporary life. His stories demonstrate that integrity is not situational. It does not vary based on the amounts of money involved, the social status of the people concerned, or the likelihood of detection. His approach to business ethics established principles that remain relevant, that religious compliance cannot be separated from commercial activity, that uncertainty about the permissibility of goods or actions should lead to avoidance rather than rationalization, and that short-term financial loss in service of principle often leads to long-term benefit that exceeds what compromise might have achieved. His wisdom about interpersonal relationships, particularly his advice about avoiding criticism of others, offers insight into the spiritual dangers of focusing on others' faults while neglecting one's own accountability. The principle that criticizing others often transfers one's own spiritual rewards to those being criticized provides a powerful incentive for focusing on personal improvement rather than judgment of others. The stories collectively illustrate a life lived in constant awareness of divine observation and judgment. Ibn Sirin's decisions were not based on social acceptance, financial considerations, or personal convenience, but on his understanding of what would be required of him when he faced his Creator. This consciousness created a life of remarkable consistency, where the same principles governed major business decisions involving hundreds of millions and minor transactions worth a few coins. It produced a character so trustworthy that merchants would extend credit based solely on his reputation, and so spiritually aware that he would dispose of valuable merchandise rather than risk selling contaminated food to fellow believers. The enduring power of these stories lies in their demonstration that such principles, while demanding, are not impossible to implement. Ibn Sirin was not portrayed as superhuman or uniquely blessed, but as someone who had made a conscious decision to organize his life around clearly defined spiritual priorities. His example suggests that similar consistency is available to anyone willing to accept the same level of accountability and make the same commitment to principle over convenience. The divine assistance he received through the community support that freed him from prison and restored his finances indicates that such commitment often receives unexpected support from sources beyond human planning or control. In an age where ethical standards in business and personal relationships are often viewed as flexible guidelines rather than absolute requirements, Ibn Sirin's example offers a different model, one where integrity is non-negotiable and where trust in divine justice provides the foundation for decisions that might appear financially or socially unwise in the short term. The marketplace where Ibn Sirin conducted his business became a space where commerce and spirituality reinforced rather than conflicted with each other. His presence transformed not just his own business practices, but created an environment where other merchants felt motivated to maintain higher standards. This transformation suggests possibilities for contemporary business environments where ethical leadership can influence entire industries or market sectors. The principle that integrity attracts rather than repels business opportunities, demonstrated through the way other merchants sought association with Ibn Sirin, offers encouragement for those who might fear that ethical standards will disadvantage them competitively. The ultimate lesson of Ibn Sirin's life may be that the integration of spiritual consciousness with daily activity, rather than their separation into distinct spheres, creates possibilities for both worldly success and spiritual advancement that neither approach could achieve independently. His legacy continues to inspire those who seek to conduct their lives, whether in business or personal relationships, with the same awareness of divine observation and the same commitment to principle that characterized this remarkable figure from Islamic history. The marketplace of medieval Iraq, transformed by one man's unwavering commitment to spiritual principle, stands as a testament to the possibility that individual integrity can reshape entire environments and create standards that endure far beyond any single lifetime. Today, in our interconnected world where business transactions span continents and digital communications connect us instantly with people across the globe, the principles demonstrated by Ibn Sirin remain as relevant as they were in the markets of ancient Iraq. Whether dealing with rental agreements, borrowed vehicles, or simple purchases, the consciousness that every action carries weight in both this world and the next continues to offer guidance for those seeking to live with integrity. The Prophet's teaching that recompense comes according to one's deeds echoes through Ibn Sirin's stories, reminding us that how we treat others' property, rights, and dignity ultimately determines how we ourselves will be treated. The merchant who returned a rented house in better condition than he found it, and the scholar who gave charity in gratitude for avoiding conflict over an accidentally damaged fence demonstrate the same consciousness that guided Ibn Sirin's momentous decisions. In a world where shortcuts and compromises often seem like practical necessities, Ibn Sirin's example suggests that unwavering commitment to principle, while sometimes costly in the short term, ultimately leads to outcomes that exceed what expedience could achieve. His marketplace, where religious integrity and commercial success reinforced each other, offers a vision of what becomes possible when spiritual awareness guides material endeavors. The trust he inspired, the community he created, and the standards he established all flowed from a simple but revolutionary commitment to conduct every aspect of life as if standing before the ultimate judge. The legacy of Ibn Sirin, merchant, scholar, and guardian of conscience, continues to challenge and inspire all who seek to transform the ordinary transactions of daily life into acts of worship and service to the divine.